Good evening everybody, welcome to another Slate Live. My name is James Akers and I'm the cutting director for Slate Education. Behind the camera we have Francesco.
Hello.
Who will be talking to you all night about and asking me all the questions that you guys have and telling me where you're all coming from. And this is the gorgeous model, this is G, who's let me experiment a little bit on her hair tonight. So let me tell you a little bit about what we're planning to do. So what we want to do is working mainly with layering through this haircut. Now previously what G had was something much more built up with more graduation. And I just found that on these wider areas in the head that it built up far too much weight and looked too heavy. So what I've decided to do is start to work a layering technique that's going to flatten out all these wide points. Now as you can see, I've subdivided the sections through the top, and I'll explain that to you in a minute why. But first of all, what I've done is I've just come through and worked a flat cutting technique, working shorter internally to longer externally. Now from this point, I'm going to be working around the head towards the back and be working the same end of the side. So we're looking for a symmetrical finish today. So because I'm working with a layer, what I'm doing is I'm going to be very adamant about my sections being the same size each time, so I know I'm getting balance, and making sure that I'm doing the same amount of sections on both sides. Now, what I'm actually going to be doing is working over my fingers. Now, working over my fingers, look, as soon as I work inside, look what happens, naturally we bring down. As soon as I lift the elbow up, naturally I elevate more. So if we want to work a layering technique, it actually tends to work better for you to work over your fingers. It's just more natural. So I'm working through into this bottom area, and I want to keep some length in the outline. Now we can see really well from this angle that this hair is travelling further. So as we drop that, we're flattening out this area, we're keeping that element of length in the outline. So I'm going to carry on working through like this. Now guys, if you have any questions, please ask us. We're more than happy. We love a few questions, me and Francesco. Also let us know if you're tuning in, where you're tuning in from. It'd be great to hear where around the world you are. So what I'm going to do is keep my sections nice and clean, keep them the same size each time. And my body position is moving around the head as my sections are. So as my sections move back, my body moves around. This way I know I can keep a good consistency in my section. Now when I work towards the back, if I want to come a little bit flatter, if it works easier for me, because this might become very difficult through the nape, because I might start working inside my fingers, but I'm just very aware that I don't want to come and tuck in. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to keep connection at the moment through this, but changing the shape and moulding the shape just very gradually by using our finger angle.
James, are you over-directing each section to the next one, or is the next section has been over-directed to the ones being cut before?
So what I'm doing with over-direction is I'm pretty much just following the head shape at the moment. I don't really want to build. So as you can see, as I pull up this out here, we're following the head shape really. Now, as I work back around the head, I might start to over-direct slightly into that middle area and do the same on both sides. That way I can find a better balance and I can come through and just knock out any little corner if we do build any.
Cool.
So that's why having my sections the same size each time really helps with my over-direction.
We have a question from Michael.
Hello Michael. Is that Mr. Michael Pizzolidis?
Yes. He's asking, is that because you want a round shape?
We're looking for, there's going to be a combination of shapes going through here. So what we're looking for is, through this underneath area, we will be looking for something more round, because like I said, there won't be much weight building up, but if there is any, it will just be through that back area where we're flattening. Where we're building, just through there. That's why I'm going to use that slight bit of over direction. But really, through this underneath, I don't want to see a build-up of weight anywhere, but if we were to call it a shape, then yes, we'd be looking at a round shape. And what we're going to do is we're going to have these disconnected panels sitting on the top, which I think will give it a really cool finish. Now what I'm doing is I am moving G's head slightly to make it easier for me, but I'm aware that I'm moving the head. So I know that if you just put your head perfectly straight for me, G, now this is more difficult, okay, but I know that I want to get that same angle, so dropping the head, I make sure that my fingers are relating to that at the same time. Now, what I found as well with all these hairlines, and this happens a lot in Asian hair, I find, is it's very jumpy. So we've got two options really, I think, when we're looking at that. Either we take them off super tight and work in more of a scissor over comb technique, or we leave more weight in it, and that's going to hold it down. So we can see already that we're getting this really nice flatter where the wider areas of the head are, and building up where we come in and go slimmer, which I think should work really nice on G's head. But it's one of those things, isn't it? This is all about what we've thought about and the thought process, and then until the end, we won't really get to see the finished result. But that's the beauty of working creatively and with disconnection. We get to have a little bit more fun with it. So we are also today in the beautiful Standard and Slingsby in Kensington, in central London, and they've very kindly lent us their space again for us to do another one of these live shows for you. So they've been great to work with. Now what I'm using here is I'm using a moisturising lotion, like a conditioning lotion, just to prep the hair while I'm cutting. So as opposed to using too much water, I want to keep the hair wet, but because the hair sits out from the head, by using a good cutting lotion or a prepping lotion, what we're going to do is the hair starts to dry naturally from the heat of the scalp. This will start to dry the hair a little bit flatter. So we're using that to our advantage as we're going through. Now I find when I'm teaching is that these areas are the most difficult, and people really struggle coming into these nape areas, and they are tricky. It's tricky to get hold of the hair, but that's when I say there's no right and wrong. As long as you've got the correct tension, the correct elevation that you're looking for, whether you want to work in or outside of your fingers, it depends, as long as you're getting that desired effect that you want. So this is starting to look really nice through here. I'm going to come through, you can see that we've got a slightly higher section through here and slightly lower through here. Now the reason we've got that is because we're going to be doing something different with the top at the front and the back, and we want to flatten out this area through here a little bit more, so my sections come slightly higher. But we're going to talk about all that in a minute.
Cool. I think this one are good tips, especially on Asia hair, because they are quite tricky to cut.
Yeah, I find it, it's definitely challenging in its own way. I think every kind of hair is challenging in its own way, isn't it? Trying to create volume in very straight, flat hair, and trying to reduce volume in very wide, thick hair. It always has its little things, but I think as soon as when you understand really technique and what cutting hair does, then we can sort of do anything. Like I really enjoy cutting afro hair. It's a completely different process, but I really enjoy it because you really can see that expanded shape in afro hair.
Absolutely.
Have you cut much afro hair before, Francesca?
Not recently, but quite a lot.
Previously?
I had the pleasure, yeah. It's really enjoyable, it's really nice, especially because the freehand technique.
Yeah.
Just having fun creating the shape and go through step by step.
I think a lot of us as hair cutters are we love visual references. We like to see things happening, do you know what I mean? That's why I think a lot of us quite like strength with lines and stuff. So with afro hair, you can see that expanded shape immediately. It's really satisfying, I think, for us.
Absolutely.
A lot of us people that are super into cutting hair and the geometry of it and the precision of it, we get really excited about these things, which is cool. So you can see in my sections, I'm just following around the head, and my body's moving back every time, so as I'm working, I'm following. And this way, I know that my over direction is going to be the same each time. Now, if we look, where I'm combing their hair from. If I comb the hair from this side when I'm going to cut it, I'm more likely to push it over here, so I'm more likely to over direct more. So what I'm doing is, because I want to follow the head shape, I'm combing from the guideline into the new hair, back onto my section, and that's where I'm going to be flattening it out from. So G might have a neck ache after this with me throwing her around a little bit. I think it's worth it, you know. I think I've seen a lot of people struggle with bad backs and stuff over the years, and for your client to be, you know, very slightly uncomfortable, it shouldn't really be uncomfortable for them, but that real slight, you know, just moving the head around for that 45 minutes or hour that you're cutting their hair, when you're doing it for 9 hours a day, it's actually, you know, I think they need to take that.
Yeah, quite a long journey.
Save yourself.
So James, you got quite good news.
What's that?
Finally, something's coming up. We have a new space.
We do indeed. So we've been working on this space for quite a while now, and Gregory, the director of the whole company, he's been in there and putting his personal touches on it, and it's looking amazing. So we're actually going to be opening the 1st of December. So we're super excited about that. That'll be in central London, Soho, Berwick Street, so right in the thick of it. Such a great address for us to have. And we'll actually be doing our next Slate Live there. So you'll be able to see it. We'll be able to give you updates. We will be releasing our first 3 courses. So number 1, first one will be in January. And our second one will be in February, and our third in March. Now, if you carry on to follow us on Instagram and Facebook, follow us what we're doing, we'll be releasing the exact dates and the exact content of the courses for you very soon. And we'll be able to give you some more information on the next Slate Live as well. So yeah, we're all really excited about that. I think, you know, we love travelling around, and we love going to different countries and other people's salons, and we'll still be doing that, absolutely, we'll be doing that a lot, but actually having that ability to really have a home where your home is and have people all over the world to come to you, it's really exciting.
Absolutely.
Really exciting. So we'll be doing a lot more models, and we'll have a lot more time to be planning and prepping our years there, so it's super exciting for all of us. G's going to come back for a haircut, aren't you, G? She's going to be happy.
Nice.
So in this bottom bit now, where I find it a bit trickier to work over my fingers, I'm just coming in under my fingers, but still elevating up. And what I'm doing is, as well, it's just making sure that I don't put too much tension. Now if we look here, when I pull this hair through here, the elasticity of the skin is different, for example, to here, whereas this doesn't really move, this does. So if I put lots of tension on here and cut this, and as that springs back, it's going to distort the shape. So what we're doing is we're just being a little bit more gentle with the tension, just through these areas. Now what I'm focusing on at the moment, purely, is my internal shape. So my layering, my flattening. That's what I'm worried about at the moment, that's what I'm doing. I'm forgetting all of this outline stuff because we can play with that at the end. I've got an idea in my head of what I want to see, but I think when we dry it and everything, then everything will come to life, you know. So I've been really excited about doing this haircut actually. How long ago did I meet you, G? Was it last week, 2 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember? When did I meet you?
I think it's last Sunday.
Last Sunday.
Mm.
So I remember I was working in the salon, and I saw her from across the street, and I ran away, ran over the street, and I was like, "Oh, I need to cut your hair."
Leaving the client with a wet hair.
So yeah, it was meant to be. I think I'm training a lot of the apprentices at the moment, which is really great fun and very different to like doing a 3-day course. Obviously, you see a lot more progress and a lot more longevity. But what I do find is that the people that really focus on getting models and doing models progress so much faster. So if you're watching this and you're in that stage of your career where you're an apprentice, then don't be shy, don't be nervous of going up to people. Everyone's a person just like you, and ask them to cut their hair. You know, I think that's a massive, massive thing. That's how we practice. So models for me are an absolute huge importance when it comes to progression.
Definitely.
Because you can also kind of pick and choose who you want to cut. You know, it's not like a client, is it?
So we got a question.
Sure thing.
From Seyin. Hopefully I said well. So what is the look you're going for?
So what we're going for is, I wanted to see, when I first spoke to G, what we were thinking about was keeping, like, she likes this Japanese style. So what we spoke about was going something between Japanese and London. So we're going to go for something quite soft and textured internally, something a little bit stronger on the outline, but nothing too harsh or too severe. Having this layering effect and this layering feel is going to always leave the hair feeling a bit softer, whereas something graduated might feel a bit heavier and a bit fuller, a bit more aggressive. So what we're looking at doing is having something that's going to work perfectly on the bone structure. So this little peekaboo fringe that we're doing is just going to come just up to here. It's going to be really soft. Then we're going to have like what people call bangs, or like a long fringe kind of sweeping off and having this beautiful length in here. So really bringing to life lots of G's, bringing to life our bone structure, really bringing to life all the areas that I think need to be shown, and softening all the areas that we feel need to be softened.
Cool.
So it's going to be quite an intricate one. There's going to be quite a lot going on, but hopefully to the eye, it's not going to look too busy. So for me, especially when working creatively, what I find is that you should never really have more than one or two focal points, you know?
Yeah.
I think that sometimes hair can just get a bit, you know, even if done well, it can just get a little bit too overdone, a bit too busy, and your eye kind of gets lost. Whereas I think when you have that focal point, it can work really nicely.
Cool. We got Corina, hope I said well too. She loves our live videos.
Oh,
so thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Guys, let us know where you're tuning in from. I'd love to know where you guys are watching from, whether you're local to here or somewhere else. We've got in the room, we've got a Greek man, or a Cypriot, sorry. We've got an Italian, we've got a Londoner, and we've got China. So we're doing quite well already. So let us know, guys. And thank you so much for your questions. Keep them coming. So I'm just making sure that I'm really keeping the hair nice and damp, really nice and wet, really important. Why is it important? For control. I have much more control when the hair's wetter. So I can really control my sectioning, I can control my tension. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work a few sections here, and then I'm going to feel my balance, which is going to be super important.
Nice. We got Tom, who is watching you,
Tom.
making sure you do a good job.
Is that Tom Gilling?
Yes.
Good, I hope he's better. He's been a bit sick recently.
Oh.
The tonsillitis. It's tough out here in London, in the London weather.
Oh yeah.
Last time we had someone from Hawaii. I've never been so jealous before.
Oh wow.
Right guys, so what I'm doing is I'm following my sections now. I'm combing again away, so I'm following the head shape. Elevating up, so I'm leaving my outline much longer. So flattening the shape internally and leaving length externally. So I'm just going to have a little feel now, feel my balance. feeling, when you're feeling your balance, a good tip is not just to feel it at the top, feel it all the way through. Okay, I think we're looking good. I'm going to keep following around the head. So it's really important that we have that really nice structure in this underneath, because this is going to be the foundation, you know, of the haircut. I always feel like that when working anything, that working this underneath shape is always really important, because that's what everything has to sit on. And if that bottom area isn't right, then everything else is going to go. It's going to be more liable to go wrong. Just following it again around.
So you're actually sectioning until the middle of the back area.
Yeah.
As you did.
Exactly. So I don't come shorter, what I'm going to do is just over direct my last couple of sections like I did on the first side. And that will build that tiny little bit of weight through there. Then when we come to cross-check everything, then we will see how we did. But it's important that I'm just feeling my balance as we go as well. So just trying to keep super clean in my combing and in my cutting. Now if I don't have clean combing, then my cutting line won't be clean regardless of however I cut it. I feel like people focus so much on what they're doing here and start to forget about actually this, because if I comb this and it's like that and I cut it, it's never going to be as clean as I want it. So again, a lot to take into consideration, thinking about that elasticity of the skin now as we're working through. How are you doing, Ju? You alright?
James, we got a question from Corina. She's asking, are you going diagonal backs through the sides?
No, so what I'm doing is
sectioning.
Put the head up. I'm actually working vertical sections, so working vertically around the head. So working on a diagonal, I'm going to direct the hair slightly more. It's not going to make a huge amount of difference as long as I keep my fundamental elevation and keep my over direction the same, and it might make it a little bit easier to get my fingers correct. But what I can do by standing just behind, but so my head's slightly parallel, I can see my over direction as I'm working around, which is really important, because obviously if my over direction is different from one side to the other, it's not going to work. So I'm a big believer, because I've got very wonky fingers, that it's important that we only work up to that first knuckle as well. As soon as I get past to here, I start to lose tension in my fingers. So really important when I'm working, I'm trying to keep my fingers as straight and that I'm only working to that first knuckle. My scissors come in and retract, and that way I'm not pushing the hair. So I'm just having another little feel of my balance now.
So another question about myself. Do you actually check your length time by time when you go, or you just finish some steps? So you go on step and then you check the balance, or you go
each time?
Each time you go?
No, because I feel like each time you're going to be there forever. Do you know what I mean? I feel like what I do is with my balance, first of all, I'll make sure that I leave my first section longer on the second side. That way I know I'm not going to come shorter. Then I can feel my balance and start to work it down slightly. So if I'm here, I leave that here and work it down slightly until I know I have a balance. Then every 3 or 4 sections, I'll just feel the hair and make sure I'm on the right track. Because the only way really now that I could be getting shorter or longer is if my elevation is different, which I have a guide to make sure that it's not, or I'm over-directing incorrectly or differently to my first side. So I just had a little bit too much hair in that section, so I'm just going to come through, take a slightly smaller one, make sure I can really see my guide. So I really love working with layering techniques on shorter hair, because I feel like I didn't do it for a long time. I mainly was kind of obsessed with always working with graduation and shorter hair. But actually playing around with layering techniques can give you such a great finish. And it doesn't have to be a soft finish, you know, it can be something quite strong still, but when you're relating it to the bone structure, it can make such a difference. So I'm just going to carry on coming through in my sections, and as I get to here, I might just start to direct the head very slightly, just to build into that middle area. So you can see now I'm combing from that side.
So it's going to be onwards or backwards? Your over direction. It's going to be to the previous.
Direction, so I'm building towards the middle, so I'll be over direction just back to the previous. Maybe not even quite back to the previous, just very, very slight.
Okay.
Just to make sure that I'm not overstepping the line. See, now through here, I find it very hard to come in over my fingers, so I probably could for this first area. But then in my last little bit, I'm just going to come through and work inside the fingers, but making sure that I'm really elevating. I'm not using too much tension. So I'm almost like over compensating for the fact that I know that I'm likely to graduate when I come inside my fingers. And you know, some people might disagree with me, but I think cutting hair is about you, isn't it? It's about your feeling, and it's about what works for you. You know, if I find something really difficult and I find something where I can get the same result and it's slightly easier, then why not do it? You know, there's no rules, really. It's up to us. You know, some people cut hair really different ways and get very similar results. For me, the reason why I like doing it the way I do it is because I feel like it's like science, you know. I know that if I pull something somewhere, then a certain thing will happen to it. And it just gives me a bit more peace of mind.
The rules of gravity.
The rules of gravity, okay.
Sorry for the silly questions anyway. You think you're going to hate me later for all the questions I do on you.
Right. There's no such thing as a silly question. Any question is a good question as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, we got the amazing Ivan, who's following us.
Hey dude, how you doing? So, I'm just going to do a quick recap as well of what we've done while I'm finishing my last couple of sections. So I started off where my section from here comes up, my first section I brought out and elevated. So I'm cutting shorter internally to longer externally. I then worked over my fingers and followed around the head shape, working just past centre back. I'm now just repeating that on the second side until I get again just past the middle, and then I'll do a little cross check and see how my shape's sitting. Pushing down a little bit down, perfect. Again, I've kept the hair really nice and wet, just so I keep that control.
So we got Michael, question from Michael, who's asking, so what's the difference between a vertical section and diagonal section in this case?
Okay, well, what we've got to think about is what do sections do? So, let me just get this out of the way. So what do sections do? So, we can build very heavy shapes with vertical sections, and we can build flat shapes with horizontal sections, but it's about what we're more likely to do. So naturally, vertically, we're more likely to remove more weight and flatten out. Now, as soon as I become more horizontal, I'm much more likely to build. So when we're diagonal, depending on whether I'm diagonal like this or diagonal like this, if I'm diagonal more towards the horizontal, I'm likely to build something heavier. If I'm on the diagonal more vertically, I'm likely to build something slightly flatter. However, what also happens with diagonal sections is we start to direct the hair. So we push the hair somewhere. So working on some kind of little round graduation, we're pushing the hair into that corner. So I find sections are a really useful tool to help us to encourage us to do something when we're working a shape. So if I want to build something flatter, I'm going to naturally know that I'm going to use a vertical section because I want my shape to be slightly flatter. It just makes it much easier for us. Because if you think about with a horizontal section, the further away I am from the head, the heavier my shape's going to be, because if we think about where it's going to fall. So I could be really flat horizontally, but it's actually much easier having that vertical shape flattening out. The other reason why, again, working over the fingers, as soon as that elbow comes up, we're more likely to lift and flatten out that internal shape. As soon as the elbow comes down, we're more likely to build something heavier. So I hope that answers your question, Michael. Let me know if it doesn't.
We actually got another question from Ivan.
Okay, go for it.
How did you choose the right length?
So, the length choice actually here was really important. So the main focus on choice of length was this area through here. So through that top bit. Now, the choice of length is just as important as the choice of where I place my sections. So I knew where I wanted to flatten. So if you can see, I've come just above the round of the head. Now, if I took this too short on this textured hair, it would stick out. So meaning that anything disconnected sitting over is going to push this out more and is actually going to look slightly heavier. So I took it down little bit by little bit to make sure that when I came through to working it down, that it would sit nice and flat to the head, wouldn't stick out, but also would flatten out the shape of the head. So we can see in the back, if you look at the back now, originally this was really built up. Coming through that, we've really flattened this area out, which is going to allow us to play a bit more through the top. So now I've come through my first zone, let's say. I'm just going to connect now into the front. But what I want to do is I want to keep a lot of this outline. So I have a little bit more to play with at the end. So I'm going to come again, keeping it nice and damp, keeping control. Let me know if that answers your question, Yvonne. But if we think about it, really, choice of length is everything, isn't it? Length is all that we have to play with. So we talk about these things like round and triangle and square and layers and graduation, but all it is length and where we're putting it. So we know that if we want something to be flatter somewhere, we need to be shorter. So, okay, let's have a little look. I'll come round here for you. What I'm going to do is come through. I'm good. I've got my guideline from the previous hair. Elevate up. Make sure I've got good tension in my combing. And I'm just going to leave that bottom bit of hair. So I'm not going to connect all the way through to my outline, can you see? So we've got this nice flattened shape, and I'm going to leave the outline disconnected. I'm going to do that all the way through to the front, and I'm going to do the same on the second side. So guys, let me know what you're thinking about the shape. Let me know if you have any questions about what we're doing. I hope this is making sense to you. The way that I come up with these things really is, first of all, I feel the head, I feel the actual head shape and feel what it's doing. Then I see areas that I like. So what do I like? So through here, I really like the way that this sat forward and that sat back. So I'm going to play around with that a little bit later. And then I just saw that the whole shape was so much heavier. So what I did first of all, before I thinking about, I'm going to do a layer, I'm going to do this, is I thought about, right, what do I want to see? Do I want to see something flatter? Do I want to see something heavier? Then when I came up with what I wanted to see, then I decided my technique and my sections because of it. So I'm just going to keep carrying on through here, taking my sections. Elevating up. Leaving that little bit of outline through there. Just leaving my outline length, which is just going to give me that little bit more to play with if I need it. I can always take it off, but it's better to leave a little bit of something, I always think. So this is one of those things that it's really gonna, you know, as soon as we kind of take that around and play with this length, everything's gonna really come to life. She's gonna be very excited, I think, when she sees the end result.
It's gonna be really cool.
I think so, no, I hope so. So, you know, we can see here, we can see that this is just too heavy. Do you know what I mean? The length is nice, but you can see in there that bulk, so I just want to reduce that. And again, that's choice of length, isn't it?
I think it suits her really well.
I think so far, yeah, I think we're going to be cool. I love this idea of a little peekaboo fringe as well. I think it's going to be really fun. We kind of had one. She kind of had one when she came. She kind of had something. She had some shorter bits of hair, so I've just kind of stolen that and just want to make it slightly stronger. Now you can see again, I'm leaving this hair out, connecting through here. And forward. Letting the hair fall out my fingers that I don't want.
Heaven is asking, will you texturize later the haircut?
Yeah, I'll see when I've dried it what needs to be done. When I work with disconnection, a lot of the time I will use pointing, but mainly through the top area. The hair that sits on top of the disconnection, I'll use pointing, especially on this Asian hair, as it's quite strong. You can really see things, you know, it can sit quite heavy, so it might just be really nice to soften the ends out. But what I've really decided is that I've already decided about my length and my shape, so the fact that I'm using a layering technique is going to create much more texture in the hair already.
Cool. So we got a question from Maria.
Oh, hi Maria. Maria Petko.
Yep.
How are you, Maria?
What's the difference between the internal layers and the external layers?
Okay.
That's interesting. I want to know.
Internal and external layers. So when I talk about internal, what I mean is everything that I'm doing inside here. So inside the shape, inside the head shape. External, I mean anything that's just sitting on the outline. So this would be external, this would be external. Everything else, everything that I'm pulling is my internal. So the difference, just let us know, Maria, whether do you mean the disconnected hair and this hair, or do you mean the outline and the internal? Just let me know what you mean quickly, and then I'll come back to you. So I'm just quickly checking that we're meeting in the middle.
We are full of questions now.
Perfect.
Wow, incredible. So we have a question from Wazim. I hope to...
Wazim, thanks for the question.
Hope to say it well. So, do you recommend point cutting for such a haircut or such a hair?
Yeah, I think, like I said, you know, I think with point cutting, it's much better to see on dry hair. I think you're going to have a lot more control, and you're going to see, not more control necessarily, but you're going to see where you need the weight taken out of, and you know that you're not going to take out too much weight. With wet hair, because it's all congealed together, or sits together more, you don't have control of how much weight you're taking out. I think it all depends on your desired result. I think after you've created your shape that you want, then it's all about personal feel, isn't it? I'll be using a point cutting technique at the very end when I work through and I've seen all my shape, and I'll see where I need to use that. But I don't know if I want to go crazy with it, you know. I just want to see where the ends are sitting at. And obviously as well, we have different kinds of pointing. We have deep and straight. So if I came straight into the hair, I'm going to just take out a smaller amount. If I come in at an angle, I'm going to take out much more. But because I've elevated and layered the shape to create this softness, then I shouldn't have to take too much weight out. What I will be taking out is just that heaviness of the ends. So hopefully that's what we'll be looking for. So when I'm checking this, I'm just going to check it in the same way that I cut it. So I'm going to lift everything up. That's my disconnection. And check it through here, and we can see that we're just following that head shape around there.
Nice.
All right. Cool. Now, sometimes I would dry this underneath and work my outlines and my shape, but actually, I want to see everything sitting together before I bring everything into one with all the outlines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working the top and leave this nice and wet. So it'd be quite cool, I think, as well for you guys to see what happens and how we really mould what's happened internally to what happens as shape. Maria, let me know what you meant with that last question, so I do want to answer it for you. So guys, as well, you should, I don't know if all of you do, but some of you, if you check out our Hairbrain Lives as well, really fun. Normally with me and Michael doing that once a month. We get some really great models and do some really fun stuff. I had a wicked model called U. We're just getting letters, aren't we? U and G. She was amazing. Michael did a really beautiful haircut on her, so you should head over to our page and you can check that out. Okay guys, right now, so let me tell you a little bit about my plan and what I started to think about. Now, what I saw, and when I started to move the hair around, so what I saw was this hair sitting like this, and this kind of like almost like bangs kind of sitting away from it. So what I want to try and do is I want to use the hair to encourage that. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut a line from shorter into longer. Now what that's going to do is it's going to encourage the hair to push that away from the face. So if I show you what I mean, my sections will be parallel to my cutting line. So I'm ignoring, here we come and see Francesco, I'm ignoring the hair on the underneath, completely irrelevant. And I'm coming over and past that and working a line from shorter into longer. I'm seeing how that's going to sit.
Oh, cool.
And I'm just going to follow that technique through this section.
I think we got Michael asking, so you cross-checked horizontally before?
Yeah, so what we did, because we worked our original shape vertically, what I knew that my technique was good. So when I talk about technique, I talk about my up and down. So when I say my up and down, I mean this. This is my technique. So when I'm here, I can see that my technique is clean. What becomes more difficult is my shape. So my side to side. So the reason being is because I can't see what's going on here. I'm using over direction to try and create the perfect shape, but I can't see it unless I cross-check it. So the other benefit of working vertically is that I can see my technique very clearly. Whether I'm in here or up here, I can see my technique. So by cross-checking, if I make sure I elevate out to the same point, then I can see my shape very clearly. So what I'm doing is I'm just double-checking that what I did with my over direction was clean. I hope that answers your question, Michael. So we can see already that hair naturally just starts to push that away. So we're getting what we're looking for, which is good. And I want this to have a symmetrical feel to it. So I will be doing the same on the other side. Now with my elevation here, I'm just coming up slightly more each time, just because I want this to sit quite soft. If I brought this down here and cut it, we're going to be much heavier in the line. It's going to be very, very visually quite strong and quite heavy and aggressive. By elevating more, what we're going to get is a more dispersed, softer, more natural line sitting through. Let us know if that all makes sense, guys. If you have any questions, again, please just ask. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Guys, also let us know where you're tuning in from. It'd be really great to know. Francesco can read it out and tell me.
I'm here for you guys.
We are. Okay, so I'm just coming up to my last couple of sections now. And like I said, elevating slightly more each time, working shorter into longer. The reason it's shorter into longer is because look in relation to the head shape. So as that falls, this is going to fall shorter, and that's going to fall longer. So just my last section through here now.
We got a reply from Maria. She said, very helpful. Thank you so much for your explanation.
Oh, good. I'm very pleased.
Amazing.
Thanks, Maria. When are we going to see you again, Maria? We miss you. She came and did a cool course with me over, I can't remember, it was a little while ago now. And she's been sending me her work, and it's amazing. She's looking at some such beautiful work at the moment. It's really great to see. It's really important, what we do with all of our students is, we offer that continual journey. So, you don't just do one course and then we're finished. We actually offer 10 cutting courses altogether. Starting off with the geometrics, working through to abstract and men's, and also creative. Now, what I tend to do with all of my students, my clients, is I actually ask them to send me pictures of their work, because I really love to see the progression that they're making. It's an amazing thing to see. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to section off the same on both sides. This way I can really know if I have a good balance. Cool. So let's feel first. Lovely. Lovely, lovely. Making sure that my elevation is also the same. So, again, like we said earlier, what we're going to look at doing is elevating to the same point, but what I'm going to do is leave this side slightly longer than what I want it, to make sure that I'm not going to come short and have to cut the whole side again. So I know this is going to be quite a bit longer, and as I come through to feel it, we can see. Not crazy, but a bit longer, yeah? I'm feeling all the way through. So now I know how much roughly I have to take off, and I'm just going to take it down in small increments to make sure that we then end up with the same balance on both sides.
We got people tuning in from Hong Kong.
Oh, hello. Where are you from, G?
China.
Where?
China.
Where in China?
In the north part of China.
Oh, northern China.
Oh, cool.
Okay, wicked, cool. So hi from Hong Kong, or hi to Hong Kong. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you're liking what you see. Now, guys, if you're watching this now and it's not live, and you have questions, then please tag us. You can either email us or message us on any one of our social media accounts, or just pop a little question in there and I'll get back to you. So I'll make sure I go through it over the next few days and make sure there's any questions that I'll come back through and answer them for you. Okay, so that feels like we have a bit of a better balance now. Maybe a tiny bit more, tiny. And then we can carry on.
Oh, that's cool. We got someone else from New York here.
Oh, from New York.
Lovely Kami.
Hey man, how you doing? That's Gregory, our managing director. That's his favourite spot. I think we went for the first time ever last year. He absolutely loved it. I've only been to New York when I was a kid, so it doesn't really count, does it? I'd love to go back. So guys, if you want any education over in New York, let us know. It'd be cool. So, I just want to show you a little bit again about what's happening. Yeah, we can see that we've got this. Now we've got a slight kink this hair sits slightly differently on this side. It's a bit more of a stronger movement. So as we dry it, I need to be very aware. And I need to be aware when refining, but we can see that we're getting that shorter to longer, that hair's pushing that back, which is what we're after. I'm just going to carry on my sections very methodically, just so I know that I'm in the right place, I'm doing the right thing. I find that a lot of, pretty much everything, really, after you've been shown how, it's about discipline. It's about you yourself making sure that you keep hair clean, because we can all quite easily go off track and just start rushing through things, but it's about having that self-discipline and having that care for your work. I think it's super important. So I'm just coming up to my last couple of sections here. And we'll work through our next zone.
Can't wait.
So guys, like we said, any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Thanks for letting us know where you're tuning in from. It's great to have you with us today for our other Slate Live. So like we spoke about earlier, our next one will be in our new academy, which will be in Soho, which we're so excited about. And we're really excited to show you all what it's looking like, and it's almost there. We've been in development for a long time. We're finally going to have our home in central London, which is awesome.
Amazing.
Okay guys, so that's my last section through there now. We're really getting that nice feel. So what I would call this is more of an invisible disconnection. We're not doing something really dramatic, really short to really long. We're using disconnection to flatten the head shape, first of all, and then to create the hair to push, to create this rounded feel. Okay. So guys, now I've got this back area. Now I just want to show you this section first. So, the way I've chosen this is I chose where I want my front sections to come from. I've chosen, which was slightly lower, if you remember through this side. I've lifted my section up slightly so we've come just above the round of the head. Now at the back, I've taken it to the point where I wanted to flatten the most. Okay? And so I've got enough hair to sit over and blend for me. And what I want to do, now this is going to be the area that I'm going to be working with the most pointing through, because I want to see this really shattered falling over. I don't want it to be too strong. And what I want to do here is I'm going to work, again, I'm going to feel my length through here. That's going to give me a rough idea. Bring this slightly shorter, and I want to leave this length that we have, so we can see this is going to be sitting over our shorter areas. And work something slightly shorter internally.
So in terms of shape, are you working square on this panel of Disconnection? Or are you going to follow the head shape anyway?
So, when you say square, the thing is my cutting line will be flat and will be building towards the back. For me, having something square is, well, if you think about what creates a square, it's a corner. So I'm not going to really be creating a corner through here. So, but what I am going to be doing is I'm flattening out the widest point of the head, because that's where I'm elevating the most to, which is here.
Okay.
And I'm leaving the length towards the back, which is going to be my disconnected area. So we can talk about these things forever, but if we think really about what I'm doing, is we're flattening this, working this. So whether we want to call it square or not, some people would, some wouldn't. And what I'm doing is as well through this, my horizontal, it will be flat again, flattening out the widest point, building towards the edges.
Okay.
Yeah, there's kind of a debate about that, isn't there? About whether, what do we call square? If something hasn't got a corner, is it square? There's you kind of go into a chasm when you go into it so much.
Oh yeah.
You know, people like me and Michael were talking about it for like hours.
Can you imagine?
You know, it's just kind of like, okay. But it's good to debate, it's good, that's what makes us, you know, that's what makes us learn and what makes us develop new things and new ideas and different ways to do things. So when working with disconnection, what I think is really important is that the longest length of your disconnection through the top has to sit over the shortest length. So I know, as I comb this down, that area will be much shorter in the underneath, if we can see. Yeah, I think really important. If this was cut to here, which is going to be shorter than that, then it's going to distort the shape quite a lot. So I mean, you know, never say never, but for me, as far as something tasteful, I think that tends to be a rule of thumb for me. When you're just getting into disconnection, if you use that as your rule of thumb, then you shouldn't go too far wrong. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stand on the other side, so I'll bring around for you all. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm more likely to pull hair towards me. So if I stood on this side, working here, I'm going to pull towards me. To get a balance, I'm going to do the same on the opposite side. So after I've done this, guys, then we'll have a little look at that fringe, and it's going to be all about drying and looking and seeing what we've done, and then putting in our exterior shape for it to work with what we've done internally.
So it's nice to work on both ways, not 100% technically, but have the feeling of what it could be nice.
Yeah, for me, all the best hairdressers I've ever seen, I think, have a combination of the two. You know, I think having technique is very important, because that is what builds everything. You know, that's what our foundation is. So just having feeling, you might be able to see something and you might have a beautiful vision, but getting there might become much harder, and your actual your ability to get there might be much harder. So you might be able to see what you want and not actually create it, so not be able to create the vision. Whereas having your technique only, you'll be able to create what you see, but you might not have that movement to be able to go away from where you were, you know, to not be so stuck in it. So I think it's a nice thing to have both, if it's possible, you know. Okay, cool. So I'm liking this. I'm liking what's going on at the moment. I'll show you from here. We kind of comb this all down. We've kind of got these different things going on. Now, with this is too heavy for me, so I will be reducing this a lot, but I'd rather have the length there to play around with. Now, with this little fringe, I'm just going to roughly put in what I want there, the length, and then again I'm going to refine everything when it's all dry.
We got another question from Ivan. It's really interesting. I would like to know, which hairdressers inspires you most?
Have
you had your hair hero?
That's a really good question, because I'm inspired by different people for different reasons. I think everyone has their guy, you know, or their girl that showed them the way the first time. And for me, that was actually Neil. Neil, when I worked at Mahogany, he was the one that really turned my hairdressing kind of from very basic and taught me with precision and understanding, which really changed my life and taught me about education and showed me a whole different side to hairdressing. So that was Neil Atkinson. So I've never been more thankful for that. But then working with Michael has been really inspirational for me. You know, we looked at things together and he showed me a new way to look at things. And I think as a teacher, I've never met anyone that's better at actually explaining what he's doing and why he's doing things. So for me, you know, that he's really inspirational. Some of the things that I've seen from some of the guys at Sassoon have been beautiful over the years. You know, they're the guys that really made me fall in love with precision haircutting. I still think they're on the top of their game. So a lot of people that I've worked with. I did years ago. I was in this thing called Project X with Fellowship, and I was about 18. And what we did is every month we did a different day. So we had like inspirational day, then we did a cutting day, and then we did a precision day, and then we did a hair up day. So what that taught me was where I wanted to be in the industry. I did these like kind of editorial days and these shoots, and I was like, this is cool, but it didn't excite me. And then we had a day with Mark Hayes, I remember, and he was like, kind of my god, my hero at the time. And I was like, this is where I want to be. This is what I enjoy. This is what I feel like I can progress with and feel comfortable with. So I have to be thankful, for that and that opportunity to really know where I wanted to be in the industry, because it can change massively, can't it? Like from one job to another. I work with a lot of people who are in fashion and editorial, and it's a completely different job. The same as with doing colour and stuff. A lot of us do both, but I find that doing colour is such a different job to what we do. So yeah, it's great. It's great. I've been very, very lucky. But guys, why don't you tell us some of your hair heroes? That'd be cool to hear. What you guys think and who you guys look up to. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work a wrap drying technique. And the reason I'm doing that is just because I want to flatten the hair out nicely. That way I'm going to have a bit more scope of what I want to, of how I can play around with the outlines at the end. So just using a little 7-row vest brush. And just as I'm working this, I'm just really looking at how the hair's sitting. You're right under there, dude? You okay?
Yeah.
You're nervous?
Yeah, I really don't think I'm going to.
Oh, well, don't be too nervous. Whoa! She just got the first peek. It's nice. I wanted to do something here that was very versatile, so that she can move it in different ways and wear it in different ways. I think it's really important. So I've just used an oil to wrap dry the hair with. That's going to help me just smooth it out and get that sitting nice and flat and this textured hair. What I'm trying to do with the wrap dry is I'm basically trying to beat the root. I'm trying to beat the life out of the root so that it's more malleable for me to move around. That way the hair will just collapse and sit flatter.
James, there's any chance why you don't use any round brush?
So I mean, I do use round brushes. I don't not use them ever. I do use them when I need to. The reason why I wouldn't on this, and the reason I don't regularly use them, is just because I find that with a round brush, what you're doing is you're forcing the hair to do something that it doesn't do naturally. So if I wanted to refine, like let's say through here, I wanted to refine this for it to just be the way that she's going to wear it every day and see it every day. If I use a round brush, it's going to be distorted. So to refine it's going to be much more difficult for me. Same with doing like a bob. If I use a round brush, it's going to be really sitting under. I'm not going to be able to see the graduation. So actually on an everyday basis of when your client's wearing your hair, unless they blow dry exactly the same as you every day, it's not going to be right, I find clients say that so much, like, oh, I love my hair when I left the salon, they'd use a tong on it or whatever, and then went home and did it myself and hated it. So I think we've got to be really careful that we live up to, we work with what people are actually working with at home. It's important in our consultation that we find that out.
Yeah, definitely.
So what's going to be quite cool now is I know that G doesn't want it fringe. So as we wear it back, it's going to be really subtle, something really broken. But if she was feeling a bit wild one day, I want her to wear it all forward. And she has that option as well, you know. So this versatility in hair, so every time you move it, something different happens. Really beautiful. So I just want to, as well with the blow dry now, encourage what I've been doing with the haircut. So what I'm going to do is start just to work all of this section that we cut shorter into longer, in through here. We'll start to encourage that with my blow dry. Really gentle, just pushing the hair around the tip length. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Now, the reason I've swapped hands is because whichever side the handle is facing, that's the way that the hair is more likely to kick. So working now with the handle pointing towards the back of the head, the hair is more likely to kick towards the back of the head.
Oh, amazing. We've got tuning in Damiano from Roma. Ciao Damiano.
Ah, from Roma, one of your lot.
Yes.
Hello, man. Thank you for tuning in.
It's nice to see some Italian tuning in on our videos. It's really cool.
If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask.
I think we're gonna do a little recap once we're gonna finish the blow dry, right, James?
We are going to do a recap of the finish, yes.
So keep tuning in. So we're gonna see.
I'll recap you in just 1 second. So we'll finish getting this nice. We will do that. Okay. So now I have my shape all done. My internal shape. Now we can kind of play, you know. Now we can. It's kind of our time to experiment. Oh, gee, look at you, beautiful.
It's a really cool shape, man.
Thank you. It's going to be. I think this is the part when it really, it's going to, you know, come to life. It's really going to pop. So I'm just letting the head sit how it wants to. It's really important that we, you know, I think that we move the hair around and we see what it wants to do and we kind of play with it. And I'm going to start to refine everything.
I'm really loving the shape, man.
Thanks, dude.
It's out of the planet.
It's a bit different, isn't it? It's a bit kooky, but I think it'll be cool. Okay. So, what I'm going to do first, just to give my eyes a bit more clarity, so I'm going to start to play with my outlines now. Okay, so first things first, the first thing I don't like is this. In through here. Sorry, I'll spin you around so you can see. It's just in through here. So I want to remove this. So I want to create a little bit more strength through here. And I want to widen and open up this area around the eye socket. So I'll just move that hair that's going to affect it out of the way. And just start to work the points of my scissors. Now when I'm refining, and pointing, I actually change my comb. And I use something with a bit of a wider tooth section. And that way, I feel like the hair just moves a little bit more fluidly. I'm not forcing it too much. So keep just moving, working, till I'm happy. Now normally in the salon I'd be using my mirrors a lot when I'm doing this because I think they're a great tool that are underused and we can really see a lot through those.
Nice. We got Maria asking you, what comb and scissors you use?
So I've actually got a ridiculously wide variety of combs, but I use all of them. So I use this Buoy, which I love. I love the scissor over comb, I think it's fantastic. Then I have the smaller Buey, and then I also have the barbering comb Buey. I use a YS Park comb as well, just because I find for sectioning, I personally find them slightly better. Scissors, I'm using these pairs of Nicks at the moment, which are a really beautiful scissor that I got from an old, really good friend of mine, a guy called John Phillips, who has a fabulous salon out in Hertfordshire. Great salon called Open Hairdressing. And he made me promise that I'd give them back one day, and I haven't yet. So. But they're a gorgeous scissor, really nice size, really nice weight. Nice. And I use wings as well. I've got some wings that I use depending on what I'm doing. I do change scissors, for what I'm doing. I am one of those people. So I can see now that I'm just a bit happier the way that that's falling and that's sitting and how it's working on the face.
James.
Hello.
If you were related this haircut in one of our courses, which course would you like to choose?
Creative.
Creative.
Definitely. The reason being is because we have a lot more zones that we're working on, so connecting lots of different zones. And the other reason, because we're using stronger disconnection. Now, when we're working with, let's say, the abstract course, what that is we're combining different geometric techniques and shapes, but so they're all connected. Whereas what we've done here is we've actually used proper disconnection. We've combined different shapes and techniques, but we're using quite strong, quite large amounts of disconnection. So I think, without having that real foundation or that, that understanding of the geometric shapes, it's going to be quite difficult for you to really get and grasp what we're doing here. But all it is, everything we've done is what we've taught, is what we teach in our geometric. It's just, I've just put them together differently, That's all it ever is. I'm really, really working visually now, really visual, just seeing what works I keep, what doesn't I remove. This is always the bit I get excited about, because I feel like it can really make a big difference. I want this fringe to be really, really kind of broken and distorted. So I'm going to bring it down quite low. Use a strong pointing technique. Don't worry, G, I'm going to look in your face now. Is that okay? Not too itchy? Okay, now this is a really important area that we're looking at. So through this back we can see that we have quite a lot of jumping. Now, I've got to be very careful about what I do here. Because what we could do, if I spin around here, Francesca, you might be able to see slightly better.
Yeah.
Because what I do is it could really stick out for me. Hopefully I've left enough weight for it to sit down. But I know the areas that I love. So I love all this, I love this kicking out. I think it works really beautifully. You can see that there's almost some kind of connection through here, which I really want to keep. But I just want to reduce some of this area in the middle. So, if you come around here a little bit, dude, hopefully we'll be able to see a bit better. So what I'm going to do is I just want to start to do this very gradually. Get the head reasonably straight. And just start using a pointing technique. Just getting rid of some hair. Yeah, really gradual. If I go in too strong here, I could lose it. Let me know what you're thinking so far, guys. I think we're starting to get somewhere. I'm really enjoying it. I think it's starting to look really cool. What I want to do is, now I can see, I just want to this is just personal, this is just what I'm feeling as I'm going. I just want to really distort that centre bit So it has that marriage with the fringe, you know, how we've got a really distorted little fringe in the front, centre front. You can have this really distorted little outline in the centre back, which I think could be really cool.
I think it's going to work really well, even because it's a little bit jumpy, so going with the shears inside.
Yeah, it might be.
Boom, lightness.
Rather than going for something that's just not going to work, we work with, you know, with what's happening naturally. Cool, guys. So please, as well, if you're enjoying what you're seeing, please do like and share the video. It's really important for us. We want to get our education out there as much as we can. So let's just have a little look. I think that's looking pretty cool. It's a bit broken.
Nice.
Now the next issue I have, if we see through here, we've got this weight sitting over, which is cool, and I like it, but it's just a bit too much for me at the moment. So I'm going to use quite a strong pointing technique and maybe some slicing to get through there. So what I'm going to do is I spin you around here. You come around here a little bit from Francesco, it might be easier. Can you see okay?
Absolutely, yes.
Perfect. So, just coming back through horizontally, and rather than elevating this up, because that's going to allow that to leave the weight through the underneath, I'm actually going to bring this down and start to work, just taking some weight out of the ends.
Interesting technique.
So we can see straight away, if I pull this down, that these ends are much more broken now. Yeah. This way as well, I can also decide. I can decide where I want to take the weight out from. There's so many different ways to texturize hair. I think it's really fun to explore. You know, have some fun with it. See what works best for you. Some things might work better for you on different types of hair.
Yeah, Mariana, unfortunately we don't have a really nice light, but
How can you not see?
next time,
How's that? Is that a bit better or not?
let us know if it's better when you watch.
Next time, like we said, we're going to have our new academy where Greg has placed all the lights perfectly for us. So we'll be up and running. I'll try and do as best as I can, guys, for you to see.
We are working for you guys.
You can see that I'm just taking those areas out, almost like weaving, choosing where I want to remove the weight. And now what I'm going to do is come through the top and just work with a pointing technique. So keeping my sections nice and clean still. Wide of the comb. In and out, in and out, in and out, nice and straight. With my scissors, not taking too much the length away.
Do you use the point technique to you from the first part of the section, or you pointing going more deeper sometimes, so more through inside the section?
The deeper I go, the more weight I'm going to remove. So if I come into here,
Yeah.
then I'm removing hair from there. So depends on the hair. If I came here and started to remove hair right down here at the root, which is possible, but what would happen is, because the hair sits out so much, that you're going to see little short hairs sticking out. So you have to be very careful what technique you choose and make sure it's right for the hair that you're working on. So can you see now, if I turn you around into the light a little bit more, Francesco, if you come around there maybe, you can see now, as I drop this, it's much more subtle. Yeah, the weight is really kind of, it's more connected, it's more blended, it has a more visual blend, which I really like. And as we're going to move this around and style it, I think it's going to look great. I'm just going to come through and just carry on, just perfecting that little... I say perfecting it, I want it to be imperfect, but I guess it's what's going to be perfect in my eyes, isn't it? So now I think with this length, I want to see, right, where do I want to see this length? Where do I want to point it towards? So move the hair. You know, I think maybe looking at the face shape, maybe something on the lip might be quite, I don't know. See, this is it, isn't it? It's a process. No, I think I like it. Looking at it from the front, I think I really like it as it is. What do you think, guys? Let's have a look.
Let us know what you think.
Let us know, you know. Do you like this length, or do you think something short would work? The more I look at it, the more I'm really liking it. So, you know, so you look at it from different angles, you see different things. So I want to just see as well how it's looking when we're styling it in a different way. And it's nice for you guys to see this, because this is, you know, this is the process that I use on every client. Move the hair around, see what's working, see what's not.
I think everyone is up to keep the length.
Yeah, I think so.
Leave it, because it's really cool
I
actually.
think it's cool, man. I think it's really nice. So when G styles her hair, it's going to be something more like this, you know, for more of a parting with a little bit of fringe. But actually for you today, I want to wear it a little bit more, a bit fuller and a bit heavier. So I think it really goes cool with these side bits. Alright guys, I mean, I'm happy. I'm really happy with this. I think that I've got everything I want. I just want to come through little areas, just make sure that there's nothing nothing left unscaled almost.
We got all the same vision today. Everyone says leave it.
Yeah, perfect, cool. I'm pleased. Guys, what do you think of the shape? Do you like it? What's your thoughts? You think it looks cool? You hate it? Let us know. Might not be for everyone. As long as G likes it, I'm happy.
I like it.
You like it?
Oh, cool.
That's lucky.
Everyone said that today.
Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get you to stand up for me, and I'm going to style your hair while we're standing up. That's okay. So I'm going to get a better position for you. And I can use the mirrors a bit more.
Oh, that's true, Ivan. Ivan says having good models make life easier.
Very true. Very, very true. What's he saying? Yeah. She said you're a very good model.
Thank you.
Beautiful. So, you know, to be honest, it's the way I've styled it is slightly different to how I imagined, but I really love it, and it's still going to do what I've set out for it to do, is for what G wants it to do, you know. I'm just really just moving the hair around now, just having a little play, seeing what's going to work. So guys, let us know your thoughts. Please, if you like what you're seeing, please like and share the video. Follow our journey on Slate Education, Slate Hair Education on Instagram and on Facebook. And we'll be in touch with you about these courses that we've got coming up at the beginning of next year. Cool. What do we think, guys? Let us know. I really like it. I think she looks cool.
It's really cool, James.
And we can see, you know, what we've done with that head shape. We've really flattened it out how we want it. And I'm just going to do a quick recap for you as well. Okay, Diane, do you want to come over here for me? So we can see in the middle. Beautiful.
Oh, we got Ivan asking, when is the academy opening?
So, Ivan, the academy will be opening. It's going to be ready on the 1st of December, and we're going to be doing our first courses in January. So our first one will be in January, and then February and March we'll also have courses coming out. So we'll be ready for our next Slate Live, so you'll be able to see everything from there.
Really excited.
Okay guys, Thank you so much for spending your time with us on this Sunday evening. I'm just going to do a quick recap of what we did for G's hair. So what I did is first of all separated the zones out, working from below the round of the head to just above the round of the head and round into the back. Now what we did is we started off on the higher point, working a cutting line that goes shorter internally to longer externally, flattening out the round of the head, the wide points of the head. Okay, we then followed the head shape around, so working on the base, following the head shape, flattening out with this underneath, leaving weight and length externally. We did exactly the same on the other side and cross-checked our shape to make sure that we met in the middle. Okay, we then worked, we had two different panels, two kind of triangular panels for this front area. Then we worked a cutting line from shorter into longer, to push that weight away. The reason why we did that is because G often wears her hair in a parting, so that would be a really cool way for it to encourage that natural. Now I've worn it slightly different today, but it's very versatile, we can move it. Then what we did is through this back area, what we did, as you can see, we really flattened out that underneath, and I feel like if we followed that round too much, maybe this would have stuck up a little bit. So what we did is we worked vertically from the shortest point, being the widest point of the head, leaving the length externally, so leaving that to fall over. Okay, we worked that flat and both ways, so over direction back to the previous on the head shape, and that gives us this really nice weight sitting over. We then just softened everything that we wanted to, refined it, point with the points of the scissors, working everything, working this cool quirky little back bit, leaving something a bit softer. There's really cool lengths. Okay, I hope you like it. Thank you so much for spending